Thank you very much, fellow Africans, and welcome to our today's episode of the Change for African campaign. Being on Thursday, as usual, it is about our fourth pillar of the Change for African campaign, which is the living standards of our people in Africa. So, therefore, fellow Africans, today topic to help us go through the living standards of our people in Africa, I'll be using the Human Development Index, more so the report that was published on 13th of March 2024, actually a year ago. And looking at this, the Human Development Index, actually this one is always, it's like a study that is carried out, and the focus is always on three things: how humans are, or how a particular population in a certain country or continent is faring on in these three areas. We have education, we have income per capita, and then we have a life expectancy. So these are the three areas that they focus on, and this being under the body of the United Nations Human Development Report that was published on March 2024. They focus on those areas, and they have it is classified into different categories. You have the very high human development index, we have the high human development index, we have the medium human development index, and we have the low human development index. Actually, the best country then, which was ranked about among the very high human development index in Africa, was only one, which is Seychelles at around 67th, and then with 0.8 something, and Nigeria was actually ranked among the low human development index, and it just shows that when you speak about income per capita, it is not the same as when you speak about the GDP, because when it's speaking about Nigeria and speaking about its GDP in Africa, it's way above, ranked among the best, actually maybe the first or the second in Africa now. But then when you speak about the human per capita and speaking about a country like Nigeria being under the low human development index, it is a very critical country in Africa with a population of about 200 million persons. It is a very populous country and a country with a very huge workforce. So this one shows the dire situation in terms of the human development index, more so after the 2019 pandemic. And looking at this still, it is this shows the disparities among the African countries in terms of the human development index, and in mind that over 1 billion people globally live in acute hunger. Because speaking about the GDP per capita, it also speaks about, are these people in a particular area, how is their income status, and how are they to able to cope with life in terms of income status. So we have over 1 billion people globally living under acute hunger, and most of these, actually half of this population are children, and a substantial number of this population is actually in the sub-Saharan Africa. Actually, one of the very things that we speak about when we're speaking about hunger, we have issues like food, we have issues like water, we have issues like cooking oil, we have medical care, and we have cash income. And that there's still a huge disparity, because it is advised, or it is said that in areas where government has installed some critical infrastructures and has been able to come up with a very good transport systems, in these areas it is more likely that people are able to access these basic commodities. Because speaking about living standards, it is basically how are people faring on in terms of their livelihoods and everyday. So there's still a very huge problem, because when I go back to the three areas that they focus on, the education, speaking about education, speaking about income per capita, and speaking about life expectancy, these are all issues that come from one point, because or they have impact in one way or the other. Let's focus on issue like life expectancy. Issue of life expectancy, also in Africa, these are issues that are related to this direct thing about living standards, because life expectancy comes with what are people eating, what are they eating, are they even getting what they're supposed to eat? Because putting in mind that over 1 billion people are living in acute hunger, then it means that actually under the life expectancy, that is also another issue that is facing people, because with the life expectancy, to have a good life expectancy, it means, or high life expectancy, it means you have enough food. It's actually nutritious. It's available. You get it in substantial amount, but it is still a very huge problem. There's still a very huge disparity, also in Africa, because a majority or a good number of this population is in the sub-Saharan Africa. So this shows the critical need of the African governments to invest in the livelihoods of the people. The African governments to look at this key things speaking about the living standards, because we're speaking about the lives of the people. We are speaking about the well-being of our people in Africa. So we cannot actually ignore such things, because if such huge population is living in such conditions, about education, looking at our education simply still not to standards. They still have very huge disparity across Africa when we speak about education. Speaking about life expectancy, it varies from one region to another, though the average life expectancy in Africa is very low, about 50 years, so to say. And also speaking about GDP per capita, or income per capita, still it is a problem, because speaking about income per capita, you see Nigeria's low human development index. Then it shows that it does not matter your GDP, as a country, but what really matters is those small families, those small areas, as a particular population, because these are the population that build in our country. So what should be focused is the individual areas, the individual measurement of people in a particular area, so as to be able to build a strong country. Because a country may have a huge GDP, but then the GDP per capita, or the income per capita, it is still not substantial, meaning you still have very huge cases of hunger. People still are suffering very acutely, and there is an emergency of them to be reached at a very high rate. So it is an obligation for the African systems to see on how they can alleviate our people from such living conditions, because still it is very low, and you need to do something as Africa. Thank you. Good afternoon.